I sped up my Docker container image build from 7 minutes and 44 seconds down to just 12 seconds. Let me show you how we did it. I am using Depot, which is basically a remote Docker build service that runs your builds in the cloud instead of local. Now, how is that possible? Well, it all comes down to two things. First is offloading your build to a much faster cloud machine. And second is their sophisticated caching. And that means every time you build your images, Depot doesn't have to start from scratch. Here I have a project with two services, backend and frontend. In these two services, I have Docker files. And normally we would just do Docker compose up with a build flag to build this project. And honestly, this is fine if you're the only person working on this project. But if not, Depot could save you quite a lot of time. So that said, let's install Depot using the following install commands available. And while that's installing, we can save time by creating a Depot account. So let's go to depot.dev. Let's create an account, and once you're logged in, we can create a new project. Let's give it a name like BS Articles, which stands for Better Stack Articles. Once the project is created, the next thing that we're going to do is connect to this project. And we can do that using the depot build command. You can also use the login command, but depot build would also make sure that you're connected to a project. So let's head back to VS Code, and in the terminal, execute the depot build command. And let's set the tag name to BS Articles. This should give us a URL to authenticate. Open that URL and then click approve. And now if we go back to VS Code, we can finally select a project. Choose the project you just created and let it create the depot.json file, which is a very important file, by the way. Make sure that the project ID in the depot.json file is the same across your team. If you're working with a team, of course. And it should start building. However, this is not going to work because we don't have Docker file in the root folder. So let's give it a few minutes or a few seconds, and there we go. We got an error. Failed to solve, and it says that there is no such file, Docker file and directory. If you're working on a project with a Docker file in the root directory, the command should work. But in my case, it's not working because all of my Docker files are in different services. So inside of the services, I have backend, and we'll find here the Docker file. Inside of the front end, we also have a Docker file. That said, it's very easy to reference these Docker files in the depot command. All we need to do is use the file flag and specify the location of the Docker file that we want to use. If we execute this command, it should build without any problems. And since this is the first time that we're building using Depot, it might actually take some time because Depot needs to upload your build context and fill the remote cache for the very first time. But after the first build, your next builds are going to be super fast. Okay, now the first build is done. Let's execute the same command, and now this time it should take way less time because now most of the layers are already cached. Let's talk about my workflow. Since I have two services, backend and front end, the question is, does that mean I have to use depot build command twice? Actually, no. This project already has a docker compose.yaml file that defines both services, including the build context and Docker file for each service. So we can use the Docker compose file in the depot bake command. So in the terminal, we can use the depot bake command and then use the file flag and reference the Docker compose file. Now, if you run this command, both services are going to be built. And now your team can install Depot as well and connect to this project so they can benefit from the cache that you made. And if they build a container, you're going to benefit from their builds as well. Now you might be thinking, this is great, but what about the cost? Well, Depot is a premium service designed for developers who wish to save time, especially teams. So for those of you who might find the pricing outside of your current budget, if you're just starting out, there are definitely other approaches like optimizing your local builds. We have a video about Docker best practices that I highly recommend watching. Check this eye icon right over here. Now, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe to BetterStack for more videos like this. Thank you for watching. My name is Bernard and I will see you in the next one.